President Trump's attorney, Rudy Giuliani. And Rudy, it is wonderful to have you this weekend. Thanks very much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Maria.
So I know that you've been working all weekend on this. The first question everybody wants to know is, what is the evidence the president has alluded to in terms of ballot fraud? What can you tell us?
Well, I mean, first of all, there's a lot of evidence. Let me see if I can summarize it by state. Some of it developed, ready to go into a lawsuit tomorrow and Tuesday and Wednesday. In Philadelphia, we're the furthest ahead. We have about 60 or 70 witnesses in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia, and in Pittsburgh. In Pittsburgh, we have observers who were for 24 hours kept out of the room or kept away from the room where they were counting the mail-in ballots, which of course are the highly suspicious ballots. During that period of time, at least 135,000 ballots were counted, none of which were observed by any Republican observer, as the law requires, and as is really necessary, given the fact that these ballots came in late. They were being brought in by bundles. It looked very much like they were trying to make up the 700,000 difference that they had from election night. Then you go all the way across the strait to Pittsburgh, and we have exactly the same situation happening. Republican observers being kept so far away that they had to try to use binoculars to see the ballots. They couldn't accomplish that. They count about 300,000 ballots that went through that process. And even though we went to court and we were allowed to move 6 feet closer, the Democrat machine people moved the counting place 6 feet further away. This is documented on videotape. There are upwards of 50 witnesses, and this will be the subject of a lawsuit that we file tomorrow for violating civil rights, for conducting an unfair election, for violating the law of the state, for treating Pittsburgh and Philadelphia different than the rest of the state, which is an equal protection violation, which goes under Bush v. Gore. I mean, this is something that just has to be addressed. There are at least, and it's going to go up, Maria, I know it, because we haven't even analyzed Lackawanna County yet. So we're at now 450,000 definite mail-in ballots that they separated from the envelope, threw the envelope away. We can never tell if they're valid or not. They could all have been done by one person, and we didn't get a chance to observe. It is required that both sides observe. And why wouldn't they let us observe? You have to be stupid not to figure out why. Because for 3 days they were laboring mightily to make up the 700,000 vote deficit they had in a city that is an epicenter of voter fraud. Over the last 60 years, there have been so many cases of voter fraud in Philadelphia. Joe Frazier voted in the 2018 election 5 years after he was dead. Will Smith's grandfather voted twice after he died. So then we're going to be looking at dead persons' ballots, which may actually be very, very substantial. And then another one that might be just as challenging, except we need a little more time. There was a lot of backdating of votes that came in after the deadline, and we have evidence now from not only the post office but from others that there was backdating. I can only tell you right now that amounts to about 2,000 or 3,000 votes. But that could be much, much bigger. Then we have dead people voting. We haven't analyzed that yet.
Right.
And then we have people who say they didn't vote, or they did vote and their vote hasn't been registered. You put that all together, we're up to about 900,000 votes that were completely invalid. And we only had 3 days of investigation. In Michigan, we have a similar situation. Numbers a little bit less.